All right, I think we're going to go ahead and start. Thank you for attending today's webinar from Nextivity to introduce the new product Cel-Fi Compass. Today's speaker will be the legendary Joe Smeltzer, head of product. I'm Dean Richmond, I'm the head of marketing. We are using the Zoom platform, and at the bottom middle of the platform, we have a Q&A area, and you should see that little Q&A icon. If you have a question, you just click on that and you fill out your question, and we'll go ahead and get it started. Now, this will be recorded and we will send this out. It will be available in roughly 24 hours. And any of the questions that you have that you think about maybe after the webinar, you can always send a question to Nextivity at questions@celfi.com. So with that, I wanted to tell you what we've been up to this summer. So this summer is we've been hitting the show circuit pretty hard. Hopefully we've come to a town near you, and maybe we've gotten to talk to many of you, and that has been great. But we have been given a lot of accolades. We had 7 awards this summer for our products Cel-Fi Quattro, Cel-Fi Go, and Cel-Fi Go Red. And then our company as a whole got a recognition award as well. So ranging in for our contributions to the small cell area, to IoT, to some public safety, and in general, integrators and communication partners alike have recognized us. So thank you, all of you. You're a part of this. Our partners are a big part of the solution. We deliver the hardware, but you are delivering the great installation and service support. So we thank you for your part in this publicly, and hopefully we'll get even more accolades with you. So with that, let's go ahead and get the webinar started. We have, again, Joe Smeltzer, head of product. Are you ready to go, Joe?
Ready to go. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. So we'll
Excellent.
Go ahead and get started.
All right. Okay, so yes, thanks, Dean. Talking today about Cel-Fi Compass and Wave Pro. But before we dive into that, I'm just going to give everyone a little refresher. Some of you may be new to us, our products, our company. Just a little refresher on what we do here. We're actually quite a full spectrum, full range technology and product company. We build everything that we offer. We build soup to nuts. Starting on the lower left here, you can see chipset. Today we're shipping actually our 4th generation chipset. I think we're the only company in our space that has its own ASIC. We do all of our own embedded firmware here in our headquarters in San Diego. We build all of our own radios. We have antenna and radio people here in-house that do that for us. We provide a complete solution, so that includes things like antennas and mounts. We have antenna engineering here. We produce some of our own antennas. Some of the stuff we do in a partnership with antenna specialists and other third parties. And then of course, the mechanical design and industrial design, we have an in-house team that does that for us too. So really we do the complete product here in San Diego. On the software side, we have a number of things that we focus on. We have a secure cloud portal. Hopefully many of you are familiar with that and are using that, taking advantage of it. It's been incredibly effective for those of us that have integrated that into your business process. We also have one mobile app that's shipping today. We call that Wave. The Wave mobile app talks to all of our products in the field, allows you to do some additional things with the products like configuration or registration, allows you to sort of assess and optimize them. It's an end user app, so you can download it from Play Store or App Store and go forward there. And then finally, we have a bunch of tools. Many of you on the line here are probably professional integrators or installers, or have these kinds of businesses. Hopefully, you've seen some of our utilities and tools that are really more designed for the professional installers and integrators and distributors. So, just looking at a full spectrum of stuff we do here. Welcome to Cel-Fi. Okay, so let's dig in a little bit more on Compass. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk a little bit about the product itself, the scope, give it a little overview of that, and then I'm going to introduce Wave Pro. Wave Pro is a complementary app to Compass. Without Wave Pro, Compass is a big paperweight, pretty much. Then we'll talk a little bit about the commercials and then get into some Q&A. Okay, so let's first talk about the value proposition. And this is kind of a funny one. We've been doing products a long time here. Sometimes our products, we have to put a lot more energy into the marketing and promotional part of that. This is a particular product where it's actually caught fire, and just the rumor mill and the word of mouth on this has made this a very hot commodity. So there's a lot of differing opinions and ideas about exactly what this thing does. So what I wanted to do a little bit is talk about what this product is. So what is it? Primarily here at Nextivity, what we're trying to do is provide great cellular coverage, and we're trying to provide an end-to-end complete solution for our partners and for the ecosystem to be able to provide really good user experiences and end user experiences on these products. And so we're not just doing products here, but we're also providing other things where we think there might be a need in the market to improve your ability to deliver something. And really that's what this product is for. This is for facilitating Cel-Fi installs. This product, if you're using Quatra, if you're using Go or some of our different product variations, the processes that you go through, some of them are simpler than others, but the things you need to do to install our products, this thing is going to help you do those, whether it's reading certain signals or doing things like activation or registration. Okay. The second thing we're trying to do here is help you optimize. So once you've done your assessment on site, you've put in a system, you've tried to get it up and running as well as possible, this product will help you to optimize that. So once you've got your equipment up and running, you can use this to assess the quality of your install and assess the quality of the signal that's being delivered on site. So you can really understand what's going on and to give you a better ability to modify that or to make adjustments as needed. And then finally, we're trying to, obviously this is a piece of hardware that's going to evolve. We've done all the firmware and software apps for this. So this product will evolve over time. We'll have software updates. I'm going to talk about a couple that we already have planned a little later. But you'll see that this product will evolve along with the Cel-Fi system. So as new needs and new use cases come up, we will continue to evolve this and make this even better. Okay, what it is not. Primarily, what it is not is a general purpose, full-featured network analyzer. And many of you, I've talked to many of you over the last few months who've heard about this, and there's a lot of excitement. And these kinds of signal analyzers or signal generators, those kinds of products, those can be anywhere from say $30,000 to $80,000. Some of them are a little bit more affordable, but as you know, they can be quite expensive. And they also they do a lot. We're not trying to deliver that experience with this product. We're not trying to give you an Anritsu signal analyzer that they sell for $30,000. That's not our goal here. Our goal here is really to, again, help facilitate installs and optimize installs of Cel-Fi products. So I just wanted to kind of make that clear and sort of help calibrate some of the expectations on this. Again, of course, it's not a smart signal booster, and it's definitely not a Compass. So I hope that's clear. Okay, let's talk about the product itself a little bit. First of all, it's a 3G, 4G LTE service scanner. So what it will do is when you turn it on, plug in your antennas, whether you're connected to an external antenna or you're using the whip antenna. You run the function from the app, it's going to scan your service. So it's going to give you all of the service metrics on your site at that location that you would want to understand for doing a great install or for setting up your equipment. It has a ruggedized rubber exoskeleton, so hopefully you can kick it around a little bit. It can be in your toolbox. It's not going to get ruined if you beat it up a little bit. It's a pretty hardy device. It's battery powered. Our intention is to give you minimum, one long day of service, if not a couple days of service. With the battery that we have, the battery is integrated inside, and then there's a couple SMA connectors on the top that you would use to connect your external RF source. Okay, you can see the dimensions here, 210 millimeters by 113 by 64. So it's kind of about the size of a brick. The weight is about 1 pound, 10 ounces. So it's actually fairly lightweight device. Easy to carry around. It's not heavy. You're not going to hurt your back carrying it around. Okay, so what's in the box? Again, trying to provide a full solution here. So we're supplying a whip antenna. If you want to do sort of your site survey or your site signal assessment using over-the-air RF source on the ground, or you can just disconnect the whip antenna and connect your external cable. If let's say you've got some antennas on the roof that you're trying to position, or you're trying to aim, you can connect those cables directly to this device and then run your signal assessments for those. You'll notice on the bottom here we have a couple adapter pigtails. So most of your riser cables or your vertical run is going to be using N-type cable. And then we have the QMA adapter. So if you're trying to assess signal for a Quattro 1000 or 2000, have the QMA connectors on the back, we provide an adapter here, so that'll make that really simple. That's an N-type to QMA. All right. Then of course we have a power supply. It's a simple little micro USB charger. Inside the box is a soft case. It's a black soft case that contains all of your adapters and the antennas and anything that we might want to put inside this case in the future. It has inside the packaging in the future, it's got a case that does that, as well as a belt clip.
So Joe?
Yeah.
We have a first question that we're going to do live. They want to know if you can use an external battery to charge this. So a portable battery that you carry.
Yeah, if I understand the question, you're asking, there are external battery sources that use USB for charging or for powering. You could definitely use that. If you look at this picture, you'll see the micro USB in the center above the RJ45 connector. That's your charging port. So as long as you've got a power source that's going into that port that's rated sufficiently for the product, then yeah, you could do that. Okay. So one of the big questions we get is sort of what frequencies, what bands do you support? We're using a mini PCI Express module on the inside of this. So these numbers are somewhat flexible and just kind of representing the product that we're launching with. But our intention obviously is to cover really all bands globally where Cel-Fi lives. Today, I think we're up to about 200 networks, 200 network operators. So there'll probably be a few variations of this thing over time, but you can see initially that we're supporting some of the LTE, FDD bands, all the common North American bands, some of the common TDE bands, and then some basic sort of UMTS bands there on the bottom. I'm not going to read them all off. You can do that, but pretty much everything. Go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, Joe. They have another question specifically. Okay. They see the LTE, they see the UMTS. The question was, what about 5G? And I know there's more than one kind of 5G. I guess, How would you answer how we support 5G?
Well, that's a big question. I haven't found a good way to answer 5G questions without spending 20 minutes of doing preliminary on that. So, but I'll try to make this short as possible. We here at Nextivity, we kind of look at 5G as being two different things. There's a delineation between those two. And we look at sub 6 gigahertz 5G as one thing, and then above 6 gigahertz or millimeter wave 5G as something different. So in the sub 6 gigahertz context, we expect that in the near future, we'll be able to support those 5G bands that are in the sub 6 gigahertz context. Now, obviously, these particular bands that you're looking at here, these are frequencies that are currently rolled out as 3G and 4G. So the idea is that if the carriers were to refarm these bands to 5G, then we would support them because our equipment supports them already. We support those frequencies already. So if they refarm 4G to 5G in these bands, then this product should work for that. If you're talking about 5G in the millimeter wave context, it would be a totally different product. Those bands are not supported by any of this stuff. Okay. A little bit more detail on the product. So starting on the upper left, you can see where I have an indicator here for module attachment. This thing will support some external modules, and I don't want to give away all of our secrets here on the phone now, but the question before was, how do we support 5G or can we support 5G? Some of the things that we've enabled on this will make this modular. So we'll have add-on modules that can connect directly to the side of the product, and it will give us additional radios and additional kinds of frequencies that we can support. Now, I'm not making any kind of commitment to 5G with that, but there are other radio technologies that we will be supporting in the near future that will be driven through this module attachment. You can see the rubberized exoskeleton that I talked about a little bit already. There's a SIM slot on the bottom. So when you're doing, specifically if you're going to do speed test or anything where you're trying to do IP traffic back and forth to the network, you're going to need a SIM card. Specifically for data test, for speed test, you're going to have an active SIM in there. The other features that you're doing, the network scanning and band scanning and sort of network donor assessment, you don't actually have to have a SIM to do that. That's kind of a cool feature. And then, of course, the Ethernet port on the bottom. I think I'll talk about that a little bit later in the deck here. And then there's two USB ports. One is for charging and one is for data. And then, of course, the power button on the top. So, okay. Here's sort of a visual to give you a sense for the size. I mentioned it has a belt clip. You can mount it to your belt. You drive the Compass with your handset. So it's actually a nice use case. You can walk around and do your assessment with your Wave Pro, two hands on your phone. And that works out pretty well. You can see on the left-hand side sort of how big it is relative to a hand. Like I said, it's about the size of a brick and weighs about 1 pound, 10 ounces. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what you can do with it more specifically. So the real big problem that we're solving here is network donor assessment. This is actually an area where we see a real opportunity to add value. There's, of course, a lot of equipment out there that does a really good job of assessing donors, but it's all pretty expensive. You have Anritsu scanners and other kinds of scanners that will help you get readings like SINAR and RSRP and some of the 4G LTE kinds of readings that you want to get in order to install a system properly. There is expensive equipment that does that, and we'll be able to do that with this. So you'll be able to really do a good donor assessment with this product. Okay. And the way you do that is through the Wave Pro application, which I'll show you. I'll show you a little bit more detail about what that looks like in a second here. Installation features. So on the right-hand side is a picture of sort of your dashboard of the app. You can see The main functions there are all available through a button press, starting on the upper left, activate, deactivate. Some of you out there who have used our Quattro 1000 and 2000 products, you're probably familiar with the fact that that product requires an activate to power up and start relaying. And that can be a bit of a pain point because you may not have an internet connection on site wherever you've installed that system. Maybe it's a new build, or it's a site that doesn't have internet yet, which is one of the reasons why you're putting in our system in the first place. So what you can do with Compass is you can facilitate that activate process without the need for any specific network connectivity or internet connectivity. So the way that works is you just simply connect the Quattro NU to the Compass over the LAN cable, and then you can activate the system with that part of the with that feature on Wave Pro. I know that's a mouthful, but what I'm saying here is that you can now activate your Quattro 1000 and 2000 without the need for an internet connection. So that's kind of a big plus. It's a big pain point for us. Another thing you can do is you can update software on our systems with Compass. And the way that works is when you're in range of a LAN or you're in range of a data connection, what you do is you go to this feature and you update the software settings on the Compass and on the Wave Pro. So now your Compass is current. Your Compass has the embedded software, embedded firmware for the devices that you want to make sure are current. Now, when you take Compass out to the field, when you interface with those systems that are in the field, all you have to do is literally plug in your LAN cable from the Compass to the Quattro, for example, and it will update that software in real time without need again for an internet connection. So that was kind of a pain point that we had from our installer community. Sort of annoying to have wireless internet on site all the time to interact with the Quattro systems. And what we've done is totally eliminated that need with this product. Antenna settings. So you
Hey,
can,
Joe. Yeah. We have a couple of questions here. I thought this might be a good spot. The first one is fundamentally the app. Is it available in Android and iOS, or just one? What is the plan for that?
Yeah, good question. So yes, Android and iOS.
All right.
Yeah, that'll be a real nice feature. A lot of you out there who are pros and have done this before, you know that a lot of these apps are only available on Android, and that's because of some of the limitations on the Apple's HomeKit and Apple's SDK. But with this app, you can go either Apple or Android.
And this is a question about once you've activated the Quattro, just want to understand the ability to remotely monitoring it with the app.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the way our systems work in terms of remote monitoring is you would need that system to be connected to the internet. Now, some of our installers choose to do that, some of them don't. But if you want to remotely monitor a Quattro system specifically, you need to have a network connection. And there's kind of two ways to do that. A lot of people will deploy a wireless modem next to the system. So you literally get like a Cradlepoint modem or a Sierra Wireless, say RV50X, activate that, run a 1-foot LAN cable to the Quattro system, and now you have remote monitoring. Some of our partners will do that for a month or two just to make sure everything is hunky-dory, and then they can go out to the site and pull the modem out, and if they want to. Or some will just literally take a LAN connection from the site and plug it into our system, and then you can remotely monitor it.
I guess in a clarifying point, that monitoring is not going to come from Wave Pro. That's going to actually come through the Wave portal, though, right?
Yes, that's true. Yes, yeah. So this app and this device are really more designed to interface with the device while you're on site versus remote. And that's actually a good point, Dean. You do not have to, in order to use Wave Pro, you do not have to have sort of our portal access. You don't have to be, registered and logged in. You can actually run Wave Pro and use the compass on the ground, just as a standalone device without really being registered. Now, if your company or your value proposition for your customers includes remote monitoring, then you would use, you'd log into our portal and do all of that through the portal. Okay, hope that answered the question. You see some other bullet points here. You can sort of modify and adjust these systems. All of the features and the variations that we make available to the product in terms of configuration, you can do that through Wave Pro. And so you can really dig into that system right there on the ground and set up your bands. If you have a situation where you have to do port forwarding or set up a firewall on the Quatra system to get through the company's LAN to the cloud, you can do that with this application as well. So really what we've tried to do is anything that causes pain for our partners on the install process, we've tried to solve that stuff with the Wave Pro app and Compass here. Some of the optimization features, hopefully you're familiar with antenna positioning. This was formerly a feature that required an internet connection and required access to our portal. This application actually ran in the portal. So if you didn't have portal access, it was sort of useless. What we've done here now is that you can run the antenna positioning app directly on Wave Pro. So you're standing next to your system, you're not connected to the internet at all. You just have a Bluetooth connection to the product on the ground, and you can run all the positioning algorithms right on the device there. So that's super convenient. And then you can get a full signal report. All the stuff that's available, if you're familiar with our portal and familiar with the kind of data we present in the portal, that information is all directly available right here on the Wave Pro app. So once you've done your signal assessment, you can go to this screen and check whatever PCIs you want to check or whatever carriers you want to check. You can get sort of a rundown of those metrics and really do, of course, SINAR is very important. So you can get a really quick SINAR assessment for a given PCI and then make your adjustments accordingly. And then finally, we'll have speed test capability. Speed test, we're seeing a lot more interest in running speed tests on site. Speed test is a direct function of SINAR. So if you got great SINAR, you should get a great speed test, but this will help you confirm and validate all of that stuff. And if you need to make adjustments, this will enable you to do that.
The question is about logging these KPIs when the Quatra is not online. Can you do that?
I think the quick answer is no. If the Quatra is not online, I don't think there's any way to log the KPIs. Dean, if you could capture an email address or something on that, we could get with our SAs, our solution architects, and I could validate that. But I don't believe that you can capture logs if you're not online. I think that's something, the way our system works is the connection is made and then our portal actually is what captures all the logs. We don't really have a lot of memory storage that we've put into Quatra for that purpose. Okay, I'm going to continue forward.
Actually, the solution architect's right here with me. He is shaking his head yes that you answered that correctly.
Okay, good. All right, thanks, Dean. Okay, so just a little bit about speed test. There's a bunch of free speed test apps out there, but we've put this into a really nice sort of package that makes it easy, one-stop shopping for you when you're not only doing your installation and your optimization, but then you want to validate what you've done in the end. Again, in order to run speed tests, you have to have a SIM, but most of the functions that you can do with Compass, you actually don't need a SIM, which is kind of cool. But speed tests, you need a SIM for whatever carrier you're trying to test on. This is what it looks like here on the screen. Hopefully everybody can see that. Okay, a future site. We're actually trying like heck to get this particular feature or this of the app running at launch, but I don't think we'll get there. So it would be a future enhancement. But certainly one of our goals with this is to enable a site walk capability. And this is going to be super cool. I'm very excited about it. And I'll talk about it now, get everybody hyped up about it, but I hope you're not too disappointed that it's not in version 1.0. It'll be in version 1.1. But what you'll be able to do here is you'll be able to upload a sitemap directly to the application. And then real simple, be able to sort of start a test and drop pins, and you'll be able to log your signal quality throughout your site walk on this map. And then all of that information would be available sort of in a report form, or actually available through the portal if you wanted to get it that way. So pretty excited about that. So along the same lines, site survey. Again, as we get into new sorts of products and new iterations, different kinds of site surveys will become required, or you'll start to see requests for example, grid testing. What you're looking at here is an example of a grid test layout where the requirements are to meet certain coverage metrics over the grid on the space, and you'll be able to do that grid testing and issue a report very quickly through our app. I'm kind of surprised it didn't draw a lot of questions, but that's fine. Here's a view of the add-on module. We're working on add-on module number 1. Now it'll probably be available a couple months after the product itself launches, and this will be super affordable. Yeah.
We have had plenty of questions on that last one. It's just we're answering them kind of online.
I can see lots of questions pouring in.
Yeah. So the questions were like in regards to whether the Compass is actually doing the work or the Quatra is doing the work. And the answer is obviously the Compass is doing the work and not the Quatra. File type support, whether it's IBWC or JPEG, we support the JPEG and not the IBWC. And
yeah, I think also, Dean, just to augment that, I believe we're going to have a CSV file available too. So,
and and there are some questions around the antenna pointing on kind of how that works. Can that be offline? And the answer is yes, you can do the antenna pointing functionality offline.
100%. Okay, good. All right. A little bit about the architecture. We put a lot of energy into our cloud. Some of our customers are very particular about security, reliability, uptime. Our cloud is bulletproof. It's carrier grade. We're actually interfacing with some of the carrier O&M systems globally. We have direct connections, for example, to Vodafone and Telstra. So we really have a bulletproof cloud here that's reliable. We've recently gotten SOC 2 Type 1 compliance, which is another metric in terms of validating quality. We're also an NPDR signatory in Europe. So, okay. Availability, sort of getting towards the end here. What you see on the screen here is where you'll be able to get Compass. Again, this is designed to be sort of a professional installer type of a product, not something that we would see out to end users or available as a retail item. It's more just if you're a Quatra or another Cel-Fi installer and you're looking for ways to facilitate and optimize those installs, and this is where you would look through our typical partners: Get Wireless, Wincom, Alliance, Crossover, and Novatech.
All right, Joe, we got lots of questions that have poured in that I'm going to kind of hit one at a time here.
Okay.
You just hit kind of product availability and kind of where to get it. There's been lots of questions of when the app would then be available because, while you're talking, people are going and looking and not finding it. So the product itself is not available yet. So we haven't made the app available quite yet. So I think that's the answer.
Yeah, the app and the product will launch at exactly the same time. Both totally unusable without each other. So you won't be able to use the Wave Pro app unless you have Compass, and then Compass isn't going to do anything unless you're interfacing it with the Wave Pro app.
And then I guess we have some questions that were about, the walk test. Can you do multiple operators and bands at the same time?
Yeah. So the way this is going to work is the Wave Pro application will actually drive up to 4 Compass at the same time. So if you wanted to do a multi-carrier walk test all at one time, you could, however many carriers you want to do, you would need that many Compass. So you can imagine, I mean, some of the solution providers will have like a backpack, and they'll have the signal analyzer in the backpack. So it'll be something like that where you could have up to 4 Compass configured in a per carrier, and then, or doing an assessment per carrier, and then the single Wave Pro application will aggregate all of that data and provide the reporting.
And then we had a whole lot of questions about IB Wave and how Compass is or is not compatible with IB Wave.
Yeah. So at this time, we have no compatibility with IB Wave. We're not planning to do that. We're not planning to, sort of interface with either VEX files or other IB Wave interfaces. This is totally separate from that. Now, if you're saying IB Wave designer, or you're working on an IB Wave design and you want to get some metrics, what I think you do is you can take our exported report. Like I said, we'll support CSV values, so we can export the site data into some sort of a data format that you could ingest into IB Wave potentially. But the simple answer is we're not interfacing with IB Wave.
There's then some questions around pricing and when will the distributors have that pricing, and when is there going to be renting models and things like that for a product like this?
Yeah, so Dean, the price target for us is, again, we don't think we're going to get rich at Nextivity selling Compass. We want to price this to make it so that all of our partners can have as many of these as they need on the ground. So we're going to make pricing available to all the distributors by the end of this week, and then it'll be up to the distributors and their timeline for how they issue the pricing out to their particular customer base. But all the pricing is available this week.
And then on Wave Pro itself, the Wave Pro interaction with Compass, it's controlling Compass then in effect, or what's a better way of putting it rather than Wave controlling Compass?
No, I think that's not a bad way to put it. The way it works is when you start up. I wish I had captured this particular screen, but when you start up Wave Pro and you have a Compass in proximity, you'll pair them over Bluetooth, right? So you've created a Bluetooth pairing for your smartphone and Compass. Now, once you have that pairing, Wave Pro will drive the Compass. It will drive the Compass. Let me get to the screen here. So yeah, once you've paired up with a Compass and you're running Wave Pro, you'll see this screen. Now, this particular screen you're looking at here, you would see when you're actually attached to a Quatra. but, or when Compass is attached to a Quadra. But back to your initial analogy, yes, this is your Wave Pro really is your user interface for Compass. That's exactly what it's doing. There's no real UI or UX on the Compass product itself. It's all done through Wave Pro.
And then there's another question about a statement you made around it reviewing multiple carriers. Is this done one at a time, simultaneously? And how, if it's one at a time, how do you switch between the carrier? Example, Verizon to AT&T.
Yeah. So when you're doing your signal assessment, you're selecting a carrier, and then it's running all the metrics based on the carrier you've selected. So it is one at a time. Now you could, with a single Compass unit, you can switch carriers. So you could do an AT&T assessment. You could run your full signal analysis, say on AT&T, then you could switch to Verizon and do a full analysis on Verizon or whatever. So it is one at a time. If you wanted to do multiples at once, the Wave Pro product, the Wave Pro app does support that, but the Compass itself is one at a time. So you could have multiple Compass attached to Wave Pro, up to 4, and then you could run those carrier assessments all simultaneously.
And then one of our friends over at T-Mobile wanted to look at those bands again and was wondering if band 71 is going to be supported.
We don't have band 71 yet because the Mini PCI Express card that we're using is not supporting band 71, but hopefully we'll get there very soon. As soon as the module provider has a band 71 module, we will.
And then when scanning the various frequencies, how many are scanned at once, and is it real time or just one direction based like the current Wave app? Yeah,
that's a good question. It's hard for me to answer that, Dean, because we still have a few weeks of software refinement going out there. And I know that we do, for example, we do multiple scans to give you sort of a single aggregate value. Because if you do, say, for example, if you do a single scan, you're going to get certain RSRP or RSRQ values that might change in 2 seconds. So we scan a few times and then give you an aggregate value. I can't tell you exactly what we've settled on in terms of number of scans, because right now what we're doing is we're sort of trying to optimize the total test time versus the accuracy of the data that you collect. So we're trying to make the whole scanning process. Our target is to be like 1 minute. So if you run a scan, you're in the 1 minute. In about 1 minute, you're going to get some results. Now we're trying to make those results as useful as possible and as accurate as possible, given the fact that the data is actually quite dynamic. So I'm not sure exactly where we're going to get to when we land, but that information will be available in the specs when we publish it. I know that's kind of a long answer, but not 100% sure yet.
Yeah, I think you answered it, Joe. Okay. We have about 3 or 4 questions that are pretty much the same. There was a notice that you put something in there about the LMR. So there was question if, and I'm gonna rattle off a few things here, whether it's compatible with 800 megahertz public safety bands, and does it hit the safety bands in general, the 700 as well? Does it work with any of the BDAs that are out there, are the questions.
Yeah. So the current, what you're looking at right now, this does not support LMR at all. So even in the 700 and 800 bands LMR, this is not your LMR product. However, we will have an add-on that will support LMR in 700 and 800 bands. So that's kind of a multi-part answer, but we will support LMR in the future. We don't support it right now. We don't need it right now because we don't have a product that does LMR. And again, back to our use case, we're trying to support Cel-Fi. We will get there. We'll get there, Dean, with LMR through the add-on module.
So now some further question about general capability. Can you give an example how this helps optimize the system for the installer back to some of the SINAR and things like that?
Sure. So let's say, for example, you're putting in a system, and we'll use the T-Mobile example. So let's say you've got a Quattro 1000 solution that's set up to boost T-Mobile. Now, in an off-air context, you have an antenna somewhere that's trying to attach to the donor source or attach to the macro network. And so a typical configuration for us would be, let's say you've got a 3-4 story building, you have an antenna on the roof that's aimed at something, and you've got a coax cable coming out of that antenna, going through the vertical riser down into wherever you have our product mounted. And so what you're going to do is you've pointed your antenna, and you want to look at the signal quality that you're getting through that direction, right? And the signal to noise ratio. And for our systems, you want to be, our target for us is to be for sure be above 0 dB on your SINAR. But if you get, say, above, like, say, 3 dB or up to 5 dB on SINAR or even higher, what you'll find is that you'll have better experiences inside the building in terms of throughput and call quality. So you've got your antenna aimed at a certain direction, and now with this product, what you can do is you can run a test, connect that antenna to the compass, run a test, and look at your RSRP, RSRQ values, and get a SINAR value very quickly. Let's say your SINAR is 0. So now what you do is you change the antenna angle by 45 degrees and run the test again. And now your SINAR goes up to 5 dB. You've seen an improvement, and now you'll see a better result on the ground. It's all very simple. But so just doing simple antenna aiming and looking at the values that you're getting for each direction is one real common way that this will be used. Now, one of the questions you asked was if you're using some other equipment. If all you're looking to do is test signal quality and get an answer, let's say on SINAR, then yeah, you could use this with anything. You're just going to get a number, and you're going to get a value there that you could use however you like. Yeah. So some of the systems that apply to Cel-Fi, of course, are sort of generally applicable to all products that are in our category. All right. Well.
So we have still lots of questions on how the reporting of the data is saved and looked at or viewable afterwards, and kind of the strength of the product versus using the portal itself. How will this make the installer's life easier? Truly asking that.
Well, so the portal, the information that you get on the portal, we call in our parlance, we call it tech mode data. So all of those network metrics that are available in the portal, it's similar data available through Compass. But the big difference there is when you're using the portal, your Cel-Fi system has to be connected to the internet. In other words, think of it from an architecture standpoint. The way that mechanism works is you're collecting that data from Cel-Fi. Cel-Fi sends it to the portal, and then you read it from the portal to your Wave app. And so that architecture is how the existing Cel-Fi products will communicate. What Compass does is it eliminates that need for the internet connection, in that it takes the data it takes your network metrics directly on site, and it presents them directly to the Wave Pro app. So you're seeing all of that information without any need to go to the portal or go to the internet. So when you're in a situation where you're disconnected, this is still fully functional. You're not relying on the internet connection or relying on your portal access to get those metrics. Now, from a reporting standpoint, you'll be able to export a CSV file, or for me, JPEGs wouldn't be as useful, but you can certainly export the data file, and then you can pull that into a spreadsheet or do whatever you want with it. Hope that helped.
Yeah, that's a good answer. So there are a few other questions around when you would use this product, as far as can you use it with other products besides Cel-Fi, BDAs, and other products, and basically can they use it really for any of the products that they're installing that are cellular?
You can. I mean, you really can. You're going to get data from this that's standalone. You're going to be able to assess the network donor signal quality with this product. You'll be able to assess the signal quality wherever you're standing if you're using the mobile antenna. So definitely, you can definitely use this thing as a signal assessment tool. Now, if you're comparing this to other things that are available, there are other tools out there that are going to deliver different sets of metrics, because those tools are focused on a variety of things. And what Compass is focused on is really the metrics that are directly applicable to Cel-Fi, and the metrics that we really want to optimize and be aware of when doing a Cel-Fi install. So one good example is you'll find tools out there that you can buy a $300 or $400 network assessment tool that will give you an RSSI signal. Now, RSSI we think is pretty much useless. It used to be more useful in the context of 3G, but getting into 4G and beyond, you really want to understand your signal to noise ratio a lot more than signal power, which when you're doing RSSI, you're just getting signal power. So that kind of a tool that's looking at RSSI is not going to be what Compass is going to deliver. We're delivering the metrics that we care about. And it's kind of important, because I want to make sure that everyone who's using it sort of understands the expectation. We're not trying to be a be-all, end-all cellular signal monitor. We're not going to be priced that way. Pricing is going to, like I said, it's going to be as affordable as we can make it, because we want everyone to have one. Our real goal, this whole process started when we started evaluating the quality of our installations, because we have all of that data in the cloud. And what we started noticing is that there's a wide variety. Some of the installations were awesome, and some of them weren't very good. And so we looked at the ones that weren't very good and asked ourselves and asked our customers, what happened? And it turns out that, sometimes those customers, partners on the ground couldn't do the job they needed to do because they didn't have the information they needed. So in terms of what the network conditions were. So what we're able to do here is provide a tool that will give them that information, so that we can boost the quality of all of our installations and make everybody happier.
So there are some specific questions about maximizing SINAR and RSSI. Can this tool be used for that by simply watching the KPIs that are being provided in that Compass panel that you showed earlier?
Yeah.
Can Compass really steer that and truly maximize uh, uh, what the install
Yeah.
would be?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is the goal. The goal here is to, I mean, SINAR is just one metric, but it's a very important one. It's one that we talk about a lot and emphasize. But absolutely, you'll be able to, you're going to need a little bit of understanding of RF engineering, and that's why we say this product is for the professional installer. If you have a little bit of understanding and some training. You'll definitely be able to look at those metrics and quickly and easily determine how best to optimize your SINAR. And that will do with things like, where are you placing your antennas? What kind of isolation have you created between the donor source and and other RF emitters? There's lots of little things that you can do. But what this will do is it really give you the data that somebody who's capable of doing that would need to execute that. So yeah, definitely you'll be able to, if you can't optimize SINAR with this, we have totally failed.
So there's a couple questions I think asking this. So this is more than just a reading tool, like maybe some of the lower end solutions that exist in the market today, that this is truly a tool that you can use to optimize your installation, to maybe perfect that SINAR and all of that. Is that a correct way to looking at this?
Well, it is a substantial part of it is really just an analysis. So it's capturing the data that you need. It's capturing the relevant data, because there's a lot of data that's really not relevant that you can get from a variety of tools that are out there. But what this is going to do is capture the relevant data and then provide that to the user in a very usable way. Now, you're still, if you're an installer, you're still going to have to implement the techniques that you are already familiar with in terms of, creating isolation or antenna aiming, or making sure you have the right kind of antenna selected. But what this will definitely help you. So let's say another good example, Dean. Let's say you get to a site and you're not sure what the signal quality is. A lot of installers prefer, or they like to use an omnidirectional antenna on, as their donor, because it's very easy. You don't have to aim it. You just stick it on the roof or stick it wherever, and then run your cable, and and you're basically done. But if the signal quality isn't good enough on site, then you can't do that. You want to make sure you have a certain signal quality feeding the system to give a great user experience. So what you could do with Compass is you could just quickly run an omnidirectional donor, assess the signal quality, and within minutes you're going to know if that kind of a donor is appropriate for that site. If you're able to get the SINAR that you want using that system. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you have to go to a better antenna, then you replace the omnidirectional antenna with something that points, run your tests again, maybe do some fine tuning or aiming of the antenna to really optimize that, and then you can again quickly assess your signal quality and your donor quality. So we're just trying to make it simple, just trying to keep it simple.
Great. And kind of some of the wrap-up question as we've reached that time is, and any question that we did not answer here, we're going to answer offline, literally dealing with hundreds of questions through this. So apologies if we didn't get everybody. Things like, do you have to choose whether to automatically update this, or is it automatically updating the app?
Not sure I understand the question, but if
does the app update automatically, or do you have to choose to update it automatically?
No, it'll go through the App Store and Play Store through the normal process. So whenever we release an update to the app, it will give you an update notice on your phone as long as as long as you've not set it up to block those updates. But you'll see an update notice, and then you just have to update it. Or you can set your app process to update automatically, and then you'll never have to think about it. But yeah, all the apps will just be updated automatically.
And as we wrap up here, I've had 4 or 5 of you folks that are definitely anxious to see the product working and live. And it's a request for our solution architects, can you provide a live demo once the product is ready? And the answer is yes, we will be doing that in a follow-up from the solution architects. We'll send that out to all of our partners.
Or if you want to come to San Diego, you can see it right now.
Yeah. So
come visit us.
Contact your salesperson and solution architect with that. And again, we have reached our hour. And thank you for asking so many questions. A lot of interaction here. And we're really excited about getting this product into the market and really help optimize our product overall. So once again, if you want to put on the last slide, Joe, if you have any further questions offline on this, you can contact us.
Trying to get to the last slide here.
Yeah. That's fine. You can contact us
there we go.
at questions@Cel-Fi.com, questions@Cel-Fi.com with any questions that you have, and we'll make sure we'll get an answer to you. This webinar will be made available to you in about 24 hours. We'll be sending this video out. So if you missed part of it at the beginning or something like that, or you want to go back, you can take a look. So appreciate everybody's time. Thank you, Joe, for hosting us today or speaking today.
Thanks, everyone.
And we look forward to working with you. All right. Thanks, folks.